Think there'd be a lot of people going for the delete app button this week. I've got a big list of injuries here, a lot of them Supercoach relevant. I managed to dodge all of them just about, so I'm pretty happy with the score I got this week. For the prize pool, Makapsu got Broncos head to head, so a nice neat $5 added to the budget. And you know what? Fuck it, I'm just going to round it up to 400 because it looks nicer. There we go. So the prize pool has hit 400 bucks. We're getting to the business end of the season, so any of you doing well, this green number here could end up being yours at the end of the year. So well done, Makapsu, for hitting another bet. He's pretty close to taking over SLM in first place. Let's get into the Supercoach scoring. Okay, wow, I've updated to a 1438. What? How the fuck did that happen? Billy Smith updated to a 77. Nawaqanitawase up to a 136. Payne Haas updated to a 108. So just some updates coming in, pushing me up over 14. So that's a huge week for me. Very, very, very happy with 1438. That's really caught me by surprise. I was on 1360 something last night, so we absolutely take that. The only thing I could have done better this week was Savala over Fogarty, but let's be real, I was never doing that. So 50 points gone begging there, but I cannot complain on a week like this. Starting off with Tigers Raiders. Terrell May top scoring with an 83. Same shit week in, week out. Tarpany finally repaying his owners after a few low scores. So a lot of people would have eaten those 350s in a row. They've finally been repaid with an 81. Kind of glad I didn't go there. I went Fanua Blake instead of him. Fanua Blake isn't really scoring tries as much, but he is becoming a little bit more of a consistent forward with those 60s and 70s week in, week out without any attacking stats, so that's nice. We'll stick with the Tigers for now. Jerome Luai, 74. Sione Fainu, 70. I really don't think any of the Tigers are targets. Jarrell Skelton going low. He was one relevant earlier in the year that we're probably not going near. A few people might still be hanging on to Dewey. What's he priced at now? 400k, 64 break even. So he's peaked. He's about peaked around 400k. Little bit lackluster, but whatever. For the Raiders, anyone holding on to Starling still, you'd be quite happy. Big Papa going 74. He's had quite a good season. Never mind, I've just got that round 14 score in my head. Hudson Young. Big update here. He is carrying what's it called? He's carrying an Osteitis pubis, which is, as NRL physio said, it's pretty much a little bone right above your dick. Very painful. Shouldn't keep him out of matches, but his output may be affected. And we kind of saw that this game. He finished up on like a 35 or something and somehow updated to a 59. He must have got like a try assist or something given to him. No, he didn't. Maybe it was just that line break or something. I don't know. But a 60 from him carrying an injury is very good. I'm happy with that, especially when it was looking like a 35. Corey Horsburgh still doing what he does. I don't think he'll be very owned anymore. Still in 40% of teams. Bloody hell. You can definitely move away from him. These mid-rangers have done their job. We're getting towards the end of the origin period. It's time to start swapping them out for some guns that give you the last of the cover you need and are good options for the run home. Jed Stewart, just don't go there. He's going to be rocks or rocks. He got a try for a 45 here. He's kind of like a Billy Smith in the way that he just needs those tries to get any kind of scoring. 29 for Jamal Fogarty is very lackluster, but still better than having a Jaden Campbell or a Sandon Smith or something. Although Sandon Smith didn't do too badly, but I'm still happy with Fogarty in that slot. And Owen Paddy reverting to old ways and getting a 17. Still got a negative break even though, so maybe the time is coming where I can shift him out for a Harry Grant. I don't really want to because Hooker is boring as fuck, but Harry has been showing some signs lately. On to the Wars and the Panthers. I fucking called this. I was like, I like the Panthers at 410. That's way too high. And if only I put a bet on it. For the Warriors, Aaron Clark. This is one where I would love to get him in, but my 2RF is already stacked. I've got Dylan Lucas, Eli Katoa, Hudson Young, Keon Koloamatangi, and Savala up at 2RF. And my last spot's enough. So maybe I could swap. Oh, that I actually really like that. Savala for Aaron Clark. I've got the money for it. Aaron Clark's consistency is like that of Isaiah Yeo last year. If I could go back and redo one trade, it would probably be Ponga to Drinkwater ages ago. But close second would be Aaron Clark in when he was like 500k, because he was a bit of a revelation for everyone that held on to him. Jackson Ford and Jacob Laban, I'm pretty sure those are inflated scores with attacking stats. Luke Metcalf was not goal kicking because of a quad concern. They've got the bye next week, so he's got plenty of time to rest that and come back, but just a little thing to keep an eye on. There's a little bit of carnage going on in the halves this week. Watene Zalesniak was also a victim of a syndesmosis injury, so probably a surgery for him. Definite sell if you happen to have him. 1% of people do, so probably no one listening to this. Not really much else to go over there. Murata Niokore did get a head knock, so that explains that low score. But again, they've got the bye next week, so he should be back for the next game he plays. For the Panthers, Scott Sorensen with a 99 and a suspension. I think it was a hip drop, so he's looking at a couple of weeks. Maybe this means more minutes for Papali'i, but I don't. But I can't really recommend bringing in any mid-ranges at the moment. It's full steam ahead with guns. We've had crazy cash gen this year. You really want a full team of guns eventually, as soon as you can. I'm almost there. Got a little bit to do in the center wing and maybe a trade in the halves, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. Any Paul Alamotti owners, you'd be very happy with a 96. 2% of teams. Thought he'd be a little higher than that. Blaze Talangi, 4% of teams. I can see why you'd do it, but it's just not for me. It's the same sort of argument, like bringing in these mid-ranges. Maybe we revisit this after round 19 and see how the Panthers are going for the run home. If him and Cleary really start to heat up, then that could be an option. But the trade you'd want to spend there would probably be getting Cleary back in. So I think here's one we're going to have to let slip. Jenkins with a 55. I'm very jealous of the 14 people holding on to him. Even with a 55, he's averaging 100 over the last 2 weeks. And with that negative break even, he's set to make a bit of money. Speaking of making money, we have a must-have cheapie coming up soon, so don't miss that. And realistically, I think that's about it for the Panthers. Isaiah Papali'i with a 57 is a bit boring. We will move on. Dolphins Knights. Herbie Farnworth just continuing to do what he does. 106, love it. I really want to pull a VC loop on Farnworth because he just continues to do it. It's a little bit high risk because a lot of the time he does get like a 70 or an 80 and it's not quite loopable. But if he does get a double or even just one try, that can be quite huge. So if he plays early next week, I might look at that. So he does play on the Saturday. However, the Storm play the Sharks at home on the Sunday. So maybe we could look at a Herbie VC, Pappenhausen or Munster C, something like that. But there are some other good matchups in there, so we'll come back to that. Tabuai Fido with a 66 is just not quite a Supercoach option, particularly at that price, especially during the Origin period. Can't go there. Jermaine Asako, I've been saying it. I'm pretty sure I said in a previous video that I think it's likely that while the Dolphins are doing better, I think that's going to benefit Herbie more than it is Asako, and we're seeing that. I think, honestly, Asako is kind of like on a blacklist for me. Every time I've had him, he hasn't been terrible. There's been some terrible scores in there, but he has backed it up with some decent scores. It's just not what I'm going for this year. I want consistent, high floor, which is what Herbie offers, and not Asako. Cody Nikorima with another good score and a negative 35 break even. So he's going to be up towards 700k. If you jumped on him when I first started talking about him, well done. I wish I did it myself. The Dolphins do have a couple of buys coming up though. That's the only negative there. Not too much else to talk about here other than Jack Bostock. His season's done. He's done an ACL, which you hate to see. A lot of people would have brought him in. He's still got that negative 72 break even, so only 3% of teams. If he does manage to, say it's not an ACL and it's an MCL and he does come back in a reasonable amount of time, he'll be a nice little cash grab. I don't know, if he's out for the season, I don't know if this break even will carry through to next year. I don't think it does. It'll be fucking nice though. And for the Dolphins, Josh Kerr also did a hammy in the pre-game, so we may see a forward get a little more minutes in that team. For the Knights, Bradman Best. He's another one that's just like, he's okay. He's got a better floor than Asako does. Let's just ignore that 25 for now. You're looking at lows of sort of 40 to 50 from him. This is his second ton of the season. We'll call it third because he got a 99 there, but it's just similar to Asako. You're either getting an amazing score or an average score. So he's just not for me, especially with the Knights being fucking shit. Kalen Ponga with a 72 is a little bit better. I can't remember if it was Savs or the Insight boys talking about Ponga. I think it was Savs. With Fletcher Sharp going down with a lacerated kidney, which is a bit hectic. According to NRL physio, he'll be out for a while. You can recover from them, but it's one of those injuries that you just can't rush because there's a lot of risk that comes with it. So with Fletcher Sharp being the clear focal point of the Knights' attack, with him gone, maybe Kalen Ponga does go back to his old ways, or maybe his form stays how it's been this year and the Knights are just going to be particularly shit now. Dylan Lucas with a 68 is just fine. Don't need to talk about that. Dom Young with a 60, whatever. Fletcher Sharp with a 52. I don't actually know if he played out the game. I wasn't watching this one. An injury affected game with a 52, you take that. Could have very easily been a 12. Dane Gagai with a 45. Hasn't been that worth it of a trade in for me yet. We've got 100 points out of him over the last 2 weeks. Of course, he's had a downtick as soon as I bring him in, but we know what he's capable of. He's retaining the goal kicking, and as long as he's goal kicking, I'm going to keep him. That's all for that game. Moving on. Rabbitohs Storm. Alex Johnston scored 4. He's getting real close to that Ken Irvine record. I really want to see him get it. It'd just be like one of the... It's kind of like the Penrith 4 in a row. Like, we're not going to see it again. It's going to be a very long time before someone comes and breaks Alex Johnston's try-scoring record if he does end up being the highest try-scorer of all time. So I'm backing him. And I don't mind him as a pod play. 2% of teams. The Rabbitohs are clearly heating up, as predicted, with their returning cattle. It's time to start considering the Rabbitohs attacking players again, so Alex Johnston being one of them. He's a little bit expensive for my liking, and he is going to update to probably 600k. But him and Latrell, who I'm more interested in he'll be up over 600k as well. Rabbitohs are tricky for Origin cover. Let's just have a quick look. So the Rabbitohs are at the bottom here. So they've got the Dolphins and Manly in the coming weeks. Latrell will miss the one against Manly. The Dolphins matchup I do like, though. That could be quite a high-scoring game if the Rabbitohs can get their attack sorted. But then they do miss round 19. So Latrell is probably a round 20 trade. If you wanted to go early and try and get a bit of a pod in for round 17, I don't mind it. I have just traded Drinkwater in, so I want to get a few weeks out of him. He did manage to get a 70-something in a pretty lackluster performance from the Cowboys, so I'm kind of happy to hold on to him. But the Latrell play is coming up on us. Keon Kaloamatangi didn't even have a week off with a fractured eye socket. Now, according to NRL Physio, there's sort of the floor and the inner wall of the eye socket, which is quite a thick bone, and the outer side is thin. I don't actually know where he's done the break, but wherever it is, there isn't too much risk for the eye. So clearly a pretty minor fracture there, and how many people traded him out? 5,000 people traded him out. That hurts. That is an absolute burn trade, and Keon's just not a guy that you want to get rid of. If you did trade him out, I would probably argue just to trade him back in again, unless you've used that 800k elsewhere. So yeah, unlucky if you did that. Nothing else too relevant going on at the Rabbitohs. Grant Anderson with a 95. Realistically, the Storm winger that we'll be targeting for the run home is probably Xavier Coates. There is a lot of wingers I'm looking at getting in. I've only really got one more spot to upgrade since I've got enough, and that's probably going to be Kiraz. I also would like Lomax, and I also would like Xavier Coates. So maybe if an injury comes along in the centre wings that allows me to do that, then sure, but otherwise, kind of set in the centre wing. Cam Munster with a 63 is just fine. Pappenhausen with a 62 is fine. Probably would have liked a little more with the VC on him, but that's okay. It wasn't the best game from Storm. Katoa with a 53, little bit under his price, but that's okay. Wishy doing well for me. He's actually making money. He's still about what I bought him for, so whatever. Jerome Hughes going low with a 45. I think he did update, actually. I'm pretty sure he was on like 30-something. So a little bit lackluster there, but he is a gun halfback. He's in the top 3. He will get some good scores for you eventually. This is the only game of the week without any injuries. So lucky there. We'll move on to Broncos Sharks. Payne Haas top scoring with an 108 after backing up from Origin. You love to see it. He's just so different, eh? Apparently he's got a little injury niggle, but as long as he's scoring tons, I don't give a fuck. Now this is the guy I alluded to earlier, Josiah Karapani. Negative 19 break even. That's going to go way lower with his score. He scored an 88 last week and a 97 this week. That is exactly what you want for a cheapie. Push that break even all the way down. Get him in for bottom dollar. Not quite bottom dollar, but whatever. And he should quite easily make 100k next week. So I think I'm going to get rid of Billy Smith for Karapani, which does make it a bit tougher for me to get Kiraz in. Maybe I'll have to trade out one of my guns for him. Probably Gagai, even though I brought him in last week, but he's just the one to get rid of. But yeah, we'll come back to that. Reece Walsh with a 96, even though he was hobbling around. Clearly not 100%. 600k. The Broncos are heating up. I don't mind it. There's just the time bomb factor on that knee. It's a little bit scary. I don't think any of my fullbacks are doing shit enough to grant trading in Walsh. But if you're looking for something a bit different, I can see it. Tony Staggs had a good game, but no, we're not going there. Shibasaki, surely no one's holding on to him still. 20% of teams? Fucking hell. Must be a few teams in there that have deleted the game. Jesse Arthur's with an 18. I swear to God, if he's still high owned. 20% of teams. What are you guys doing? Nothing else to go over for the Broncos. No injuries for them. For the Sharks, Britton Nickera. This is the little vein of form that he seems to find every year. But just taking out that 100 and looking at those scores for the year, I think there's just better options. He does look really good, and I can't discourage anyone from trading him in. But for my team especially, I'm already stacked in the 2RF. I just don't need him. Blake Brayley scores his first try in, 20-something games. He gets a 97. Probably not looking to make a trade with him at hooker. Nico Hines. A lot of people sold this week, and he's come out and hit a 90. Still in 30% of teams, so not super relevant. If you traded him out, though, that does hurt, especially if you traded him out for Jerome Hughes. Talakai with a 73. If you jumped on him for the cash grab, well done. He'll make you a bit. And if you do have a decent amount of trades left, you could take this price change he gets this week and go down to Karapani. That's what I'd do. You don't really need both. It is a lot of trades to be spending, though, so if you are lower on trades and you've already got Talakai, just keep him. Miss out on Karapani, because realistically, if you bring in Karapani, that's one trade. Then when he makes money, you got to bring in another gun. That's another trade. So it's by no means a must-have. Fanua Blake with a 69 without an attacking stat. I think he's just a bit less of a try scorer this year, which is unfortunate, but he's still getting okay scores. If he does manage to crash over once or twice, then with his consistent high floor, we could be looking at some tons. McInnes getting his standard 50 to 60. Mulatalo going low with a 21. That hurts. Daniel Atkinson with a 4. What does this guy do? Okay, he doesn't play many minutes. Fair enough. Injuries from this game. Oregon Kafusi with a hammy in the warm-up, so potential minutes to fill there for some of the forwards. And Teague Wilton got an eye poke that he actually had to go to hospital for, so he probably won't be out for a while. I can't imagine he'll miss any games, but if he was to, then there's a lot of minutes to be filled there in the Sharks. And that's it for that. Let's move on to Roosters Cowboys, the game that absolutely saved my week. Starting off with Mark Nawaqanitawase with an 136, hitting his break even of 122. You just love to see it. 2 tries, 20 in tackle busts, 8 in offloads, 1 ineffective offload, 3 line breaks, 32 points in runs. He's just a freak. I hope I could have convinced some of you to get him in. I know I wasn't fully set on anyone else getting him in just based on the price, but that was before I knew he was getting put on the wing. On the wing, he's just a different beast, and if you can find a way to get him in, just do it. I know there's a lot of center wings to target, but when you've got a guy that's this good, and he's only in 13% of teams, it can really help you move ranks, and I think that's done that for me this week. Teddy, captain, 107. Nice. Take that every day of the week. Connor Watson and Nafahu White, both going very well. Nafahu White, though... Sorry, not Nafahu White. Nat Butcher and Sia Wong, both with MCLs. So that could be quite good for Nafahu White. He's only 500k. I don't mind that as a play. But you can cough up a little bit more and get yourself an Angus Crichton, which I do prefer. He does look like he's starting to perform a little bit more. Probably wouldn't go him until after Origin, but he is a serious run-home option. Hugo Savala, didn't play him for an 80. But realistically, I was never playing him over Fogarty, so that's fine. We'll take the nice score, the cash gen, and the lower break even. Still a win without playing him. Billy Smith finally scores over a 30. It only took a double to do it. So he'll make a little bit of money. He'll knock down that break even a little bit. You could hold on to him for a little bit more cash gen next week if they're playing. Roosters don't play next week, so they're fine sells as long as you don't fuck yourself over for round 18 and 19. I think he'll be one of the most sold this week, probably for Karapani. Blake Steep and Fiketti, both doing well if you jumped on them. I think they might be decently owned, maybe like 10%. 2% for Steep, 3% for Fiketti, so not many people went with them. And not as many people with Savala even than I would have thought, so probably a bit late to go with them now, so we will move on. For the Cowboys, realistically, I think the only guy to talk about here is Drinkwater. I don't think you want to touch anyone else. Drinky with a 73 in a game where they score 8 points is amazing. That could have easily been a 40 or even less. I suppose the only one to touch on here would be Dearden with a 23. I've cooled off on the whole Dearden being an option thing. The Cowboys look to be struggling again, and you wouldn't want to bring him in until after the Origin period anyway, so we'll just keep an eye on that. I think that's really all the relevant stuff here. And then the least relevant match of the week, Eels-Titans. How many people are still holding on to Iongi? 28% of teams still holding on to Iongi for his 104. If you've got him, you're probably pretty happy to just hold on to him. Probably flick him to a Latrell or maybe a Turbo if he isn't completely busted. But for now, yeah, hang on to him. He's doing... I'm making it sound like he's doing average. He's doing very, very well. He's 560k. His scores for the year have been fairly consistent. Few low ones in there, but he is the fullback for the fucking Eels, so we can't expect him to go huge every week. Zach Lomax with an 81 is nice for anyone who went early on him. He's still got a little bit of cash to drop, so I'm not looking to bring him in straight away. Kiraz is the priority. Not much else to talk about from the Eels there. And likewise for the Titans. Jolliffe with a 98 with a try. Randall doing okay. I know there's a few people who brought him in. 1% of teams, okay, he's a mega pod. Not really something I'd be keen on doing. Tino with a 38. I don't know if his minutes are low when he's backing up, but he is just hemorrhaging money. I'm so glad I traded him out. Jaden Campbell with an 8. That's an injury to talk about. So Jaden Campbell with a HIA. Not sure how serious that is. The Titans do play next week, so he'll probably miss that one. And then they have the bye after that, so he's probably a sell. Or you can hold on to him if he's a run-home player for you. That's the only situation I'd hold him. If you were just kind of bringing him in as a point of difference and you were planning to switch him to another gun, then he's a trade out. Realistically, you can do whatever you want with him, depending on who your second 5'8 is. Alan Fitzgibbon, the most slept-on cheapie of the year. Hasn't quite backed up last week, but he's still got over his break-even, so he'll make a little bit of money. His break-even may even push down into the negatives. So his rolling average is going to stay about the same. A 50 is going to fall out and this 27 is going to come in. He's still got that 55 in there, so his break-even may be towards 0. We'll see. But yeah, we need a little bit of attack from him for him to be a juicy option. And with Campbell out, I don't really think that's going to happen. So past scores this week, I was going to say it'd be about 1280, I'd say. I thought 1300 was quite a good score. But now with these updates, I think 1300 is about par. I think your high 12s are still okay. Your low 12s probably going to see some red arrows. If you had a week like Savs did, you're probably going to get a lot of red arrows. He dropped like 1,000 spots or something. You hate to see that. But if you listen to a lot of my advice, you probably had a pretty good score this week. So let's go over to the leagues and see who top scored. So Jet Speed's still top in the league. He's 16th. He's dropped another 10 ranks, but realistically, he can still win the whole thing if it goes right for him. So this tab is not filtering properly, but I'm not seeing any scores bigger than mine. There's a 1422 there. What did I get? 1438 to beat. Maybe I'm the top scorer this week. 1435 almost, 1430, 1425, 1448. SC Dills, you are currently winning. I'm probably going to have to come back and check this tomorrow. I can't scroll through everybody. 1476, that's another big one. Zeus Champs, Bum Squirts, fucking love that. We'll come back to this tomorrow in Teams List and we'll see who gets half of the budget. For anyone who doesn't know how it works, every week I give my viewers an amount of money. Half of it goes to whoever top scored the previous week and they can put that on whatever bet they want. The other half gets split between all the other comments. And any bets that win get added to the prize pool, which has just hit $400. It's getting pretty juicy. Ooh, let's see if I can get a sneak peek at my rank. Overall rank, 2,000. We've gone up 1,000 spots. That is fucking massive. So realistically, how far behind are we? About 700 points. It's doable. It's doable. We're still alive. Season's still alive. Very, very happy with that. For trades this week, I can't do them just yet, but I'm thinking I'm going to go Billy Smith up to Jacob Kiraz. Billy Smith should go up to 400k. Kiraz is probably about 700k, 750k. If I don't quite have the cash to do that, then I'll downgrade Fitzgibbon to Karapani, if that's even a downgrade. I might be struggling on money to do that, but we will see. So if I have the money, Billy Smith to Kiraz, Fitzgibbon to Karapani. And I'm very happy with the team. We're finally starting to see some big scores coming out of this team. It's taken a while for all the guns to click. And even this week, I still got a 29 from Fogarty, a 45 from Gagai. Could have been looking at a 1500 if they got some scores more toward their value. But we will not complain. That'll do it for the 5am wrap-up of round 16. And I'll see you tomorrow for the teams list. Uru.